so damn nerdy. I'll take you to the comic shop, I'll show you all the bills I drop. When I grab my Polaris box, Wednesdays when the comics drop. Whoa.
I'll take you to the comic shop, Barbarians are what I thought.
Hi guys, I'm back with our last segment on programming at WonderCon, and so today I'm focusing on the Sunday programming for WonderCon. Just like I said last time in our analysis of Saturday, if you've not watched the videos leading up to this one on WonderCon, stop this one, go watch the other ones because they're all meant to be built on each other. So I expect at this point that basically you've heard the things I've said before in terms of my strategy and what I'm trying to do with the panels and what I'm recommending to do with the panels and everything with it. One of the things, if you watched the video on on-site preparation, you notice we talked a lot about parking and specifically the renovations to the convention center. And one thing I want to highlight, because after some of the viewers watched that video, I got a few tweets about just being especially careful about Sunday and parking, because there are a number of brunches being hosted in the hotels around there and at Disney. And so parking is anticipated to maybe be its worst on Sunday, and not convention related, but across the board. So make sure to take double care and don't fall into a very typical thing, which is kind of the lazy Sunday. A lot of people approach Sundays at conventions in a lazy way, that they've partied Friday night and Saturday night and they kind of just wander in late. And Sunday it's very possible you end up not being able to park and get into the show till 1 o'clock if you approach it that way. So something to consider. Looking at the programming a little bit for Sunday, the first thing that really catches my eye is the Arrow panel at 1 o'clock in the arena. It's a big area. I am expecting there to be a little bit of a dip in attendance. I'm also expecting that partly because of people getting there late, partly because it's Sunday, and partly because it's Easter. And that's kind of an interesting dynamic. So we'll see. Maybe it won't play out that way. Maybe it'll be the most crowded of the days. But I think that's a day where I could see something like the Arrow panel in the arena and be able to not have to spend too much time. So for myself, I'll probably get there about an hour early and hope that I'm able to get into that. If not, it's not the end of the world for me. But that leads into 2 o'clock. A panel I'm probably equally interested in is the Lego Batman movie panel. And so they have a bunch of the voice actors there. It just sounds like a really cool thing. And I've not looked too much into it yet, but I've been a big fan of Lego and the Lego movies thus far in the video game. So I'm really interested to see what they do with that. That's in 300 AD, so I wish that was also in the arena, but unfortunately it's not, so I'll have to kind of make a decision of bouncing back and forth, and I'll probably play that by ear depending on what it looks like with the overall crowds. At 2 o'clock is an encore of the Doctor Who screening of the new episode that's coming out, and so it's obviously only beating actual airtime by a few hours out here in California. But if you want to see it again, one of the nice things we spoke about in the last video, or actually it was on Friday's programming about Superman Unbound, is there is something to be said about seeing these things in an audience. That's one of the cool things. It's the reason why we would all line up, 10 months out of 10 months to see something like Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, just to see it with other people in the audience. And so something like Doctor Who, being able to see it outside of your home and on a big screen like that with other fans is a really cool experience, and I hope to be able to do that on Sunday. The other panel, and there's really only one other that really stood out to me, is at 2:30, so obviously I'll have to make a choice there, and to be honest, the choice will probably come down to crowds. If I'm able to be okay in the arena seeing the Doctor Who screening, I'll probably stand there. If not, I'll probably be at the spotlight on Dan Slott. Dan Slott's one of the invited guests this year for WonderCon, and so they, as with all their invited guests, have a spotlight panel. He's the guy who killed Peter Parker, or I should say killed Peter Parker in recent months here, so he's writing Superior Spider-Man. Really funny guy. There may not be a bigger fan of comics in comics. Him and Mark Waid are kind of two at the very top that kind of just love comics and have such passion when they talk about it. So I'm kind of anxious. I've never had the opportunity to really see him speak in public. So I'm interested to go to his panel and hear him talk and see what he has to say about the landscape of comics today. And interesting because I am a Marvel fan. I'm a DC fan too. I'm a Virgo fan, an Image fan. I'm just a comic fan. But one thing interesting with Marvel is because they're pretty much non-existent at WonderCon this year, he's going to be one of the only threads really tying back directly to Marvel and their comics, so that's another reason I'm interested to see him. It's in 300 DE. I don't think that it's going to be too big of a problem with seating, so I'm not too worried about that. So it might be a thing where I monitor Twitter or tweet somebody that's over there to make sure their seat's open, and I may even just watch half of Doctor Who and run over there, or 3/4 of Doctor Who and run over there, or something along those lines. So And then that'll be it for me. I'll definitely be hitting the floor for the last hour or two, looking for those last-minute sales and those last-minute giveaways and things like that, people not wanting to pack up and take their stuff back home. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that and some of the strategies when we look at the exhibitors and some of the guests and artists in next week's video. So as I said, Make sure to take the time to look at all of our WonderCon videos from last week and leading up to this week, and then the weekend of the show we'll have footage from the show and some of the things going on there. So it's basically all WonderCon all the time these 3 weeks in between, leading up to and after the show. All right, see you in line at WonderCon.
Keep reading till the series stops.
You can have it your way. How do you want it? You could wait for the trader, you could back as you want it. Appeal rising as you go, head out to Dark Horse. Reading Dr. Horrible, rooting for bad hoes. I'll break it down for you now, baby, it's simple. If you reading X-Men, I'm reading X-Men. Witchblade, FF, Usagi Yojimbo, mainstream, indie, whatever you into. Got my eye